Peace. What is up, everybody? I am OnenO. Today I'm showing you my top 10 favorite new features on Ableton 10. I got my hands on the beta testing version, so let's just jump into it. All right, well, my first favorite feature is that you can hold the command button and scroll to zoom in and out of the timeline. Check it out. So I press command and then I scroll up and down and I can zoom in and out of the track. Pretty freaking cool. My second favorite feature is the fact that if you hold Option and scroll, you can zoom in and out of the tracks you are selected on. So for instance, this track right here, the kick, if I press Option and now I scroll up and down, you can zoom in and out of this one. Then if I click and select here for the snare, hold Option, zoom in and out there. If I select multiple clips by holding Shift, now if I hold Option again and I scroll, now all of those zoom in and out. The last thing you need to know about this feature though is, let's say that my marker is placed on this track, but over here I'm selected on the OnenO snare track. If I hold Option and zoom in and out, it's going to zoom the OnenO snare track and the kick because the kick has the marker placed on it. So hold Option, zoom in and out, and you can see it's doing the OnenO snare and the kick. My third favorite feature is that they've given you the ability to zoom in and out quickly to whatever you are highlighted on, with the command Z to zoom in and Shift Z to zoom out. So check this out. If I select this region right here, the kick, and now I press Z, boom, now it zooms in. And if I press Shift Z, then it will zoom back out to where I was. Boom. But this actually has multiple layers to this option. So for instance, if I hit Z one more time, now you have this region that's been zoomed into. I'm going to hold Option and scroll so I can get more of the track visible. Now let's say I want to zoom into this area. I'm going to hit Z again and it zooms right in. If I hit Shift Z, it'll go back to right where I was. But if I hit Shift Z again, it's going to collapse all the windows and go up to the most clean looking view. So Shift Z one more time and boom. Now everything's been closed and I'm right back to where I began. My fourth new favorite feature is that if you use the Option and Shift keys while clicking on these collapsed regions, you can actually select parts of inside of here. Because you see, usually it just gives me this hand tool. And if I click and drag, it's going to move this whole track left or right, which is not what I want to do. I want to select this middle section right here so I can zoom in. So if I press Option, Shift, now it gives me the ability to click on the inside of this collapsed region. And then combining the other things that we've already learned, if I press Z, I'll zoom right into it. If I press Shift Z, I'll zoom out, and Shift Z again gets me all the way back up to the top. My fifth favorite feature is fades are now built directly into the region. So you don't have to use a hotkey anymore to pull up the fades. You can see right here, it's got a little thing you can pull in on. I don't know what to call that, little square. But check it out. Let's say you're here and you Command E to split the clip. I'm going to delete that part of it. So you can grab the square on the top to fade this way, or you can grab the square on the bottom to fade this way. So you can actually have the beginning part of the region come back without having to do the usual extend the region and then add the fade. If you just want, right from the beginning here, you can grab the bottom square and bring in a little bit of the fade before where you were. My sixth favorite feature is groups in groups in groups. Ableton now gives you the ability to group tracks together inside other groups. So for instance, I have my drum and bass group set up right here. If you open it up, you're going to see I have kick, snare, OnenO snare, hat, toms, and shaker. And down here I have another group, which is a bass group. If I open up this group, you're going to see bass distortion and bass. And I've also color coded these so nicely so you can actually see what is inside each group. And now what's cool about having a group inside of a group is that usually I would take my bass and my drum tracks and put them through a bus so that I could compress them together. Now here, this gives me the ability to have these two basses going through this group, and then I can sidechain the kick, which is what I've done with this compressor, with this compressor. I've now sidechained this kick to be compressing this group. And now this group audio is combining with all of these individual drums going through this group up here, the drum and bass group, which is basically a bus in this instance now. So then when I click on this drum and bass track, you now see that I have added a drum and bass bus, which is a brand new plugin for Ableton 10. I absolutely love that plugin. I have an EQ, a compressor, saturator, a little auto filter for distortion actually, a limiter, and then a utility for my gain reduction. So yeah, that's groups within groups. And I've done the same thing with the guitars. In the guitar group, I have two individual tracks that go to the group. I have this guitars group has these three guitars, which I didn't even bother adding audio effects on these individual ones. I just put these three through this group, compressed and EQ'd them, and then sent those guitars to the main group of the guitars. So it's really helping to speed up my workflow, especially when I have, in the instance of the guitars, I have one hard pan to the left, one hard pan to the right, and then I can send those into a group and just compress them as one sound instead of having to do it twice. My seventh new favorite feature is that the click can now be set to any desired division of time. So check it out. If I play the track over here, turn on the click, now you can hear the click is going at a regular quarter note pace. Usually in Ableton 9 and before, you had to change the actual grid of your workspace in order to be able to change the click. Now all you do is click the little triangle here. Under this rhythm section, you can change the rhythm of the click. So let's change it to eighth notes. And let's change it to 16th notes. I don't know why you would ever want to do this, but you can change it to triplets. And back to auto just puts you back to the quarter note of your usual grid time. My eighth new favorite feature is the fact that the EQ now extends at the bottom section. Instead of going down only to 30 Hertz like usual, now it extends all the way down to 10 Hertz. So you can actually have much more precise movement over your EQ bands. For instance, turn on the low cut here. I can move it all the way down to 10 Hertz now, whereas before you could only go down to 30. So it gives me just a little bit extra control on the low end of my spectrum. My ninth new favorite feature in Ableton 10 is that if you hold Option and Shift and then click and drag on a region, you can actually shift the time of the region without having to do it the old way, where you double click on the region, you open it up in clip view, and then you manually move it around. So check this out. If I hold Option, Shift, it gives me this little finger. Now if I click and drag, it's going to move it right here in the timeline view. And then if I combine these two hotkeys with the Command key, it now takes it off of my grid and lets me move it freely. So it's really helpful to get things right in time with each other. My 10th and final new favorite feature in Ableton 10 is that if you hold Shift and click and drag on the outside of any one of these clips, then it will actually shift and stretch the audio inside here. It'll warp it for you without having to go into clip view in order to warp it. So for instance, you can see that this is the consonant P right here, and this is the consonant P right here. I want to get these vocal timings to totally match up. So if I am up here normally and I click and drag, it's just going to drag the out point of the region. But now go right here, hold Shift, and now as I click and drag, it's going to warp the time wherever I would like to warp the time. And then if I combine this hotkey with Command, it'll take it off of the grid. I can place it precisely, exactly where I want it to be. Thank you so much for watching. Leave a comment down below. Let me know what your favorite new feature is. If you'd like for me to cover any more of Ableton 10, also put that in the comments. please give the video a like, and if you want to support what I do here, you can either 1, subscribe to the channel, 2, buy an awesome OnenO t-shirt, link in the description, or 3, you can come support me on Patreon. But until I see you again along the journey, oneness in sound, I am OnenO. Peace out, everybody.